Hello, and welcome to the Early Bird Special with your hosts, Carol Montgomery and Julia Scotti. And now, here's Carol Montgomery. Hello, everybody. How are you? How are you this beautiful spring day? It's so nice outside. It's a little chilly, but it's pretty nice. So New York is starting to wake up. Like I posted on some social media, it was the streets are packed. The subway smells like piss, and there are crack vials everywhere. So we're back. Yeah, woo! Yeah, New York City's back. I think the country is back. I am fully vaccinated. For those wondering, officially on Saturday will be when 2 weeks since my last shot, and then I'm going to run naked through Times Square. So that I'm hoping will get me a little more publicity. Just the thought of an old woman with her tits flopping in the wind, I think might be something good. So maybe we do that type of show. Women of a certain floppy tits. I don't know. I'm just chattering. Um, as you may or may not know, this will be our last show of the season, and what basically that means is Julia and I are going to, we're probably working a lot. We're going to be going back on the road. One of the things I noticed, and I'd love to hear from the people who are watching, is when Julia and I started this all the way back in April of last year. So it's been a year. Um, no, everybody was home, so people watched because let's be honest, there was really nothing else to do. And when it comes to actual television, it kind of sucks unless, of course, you've got the streaming services. So we were doing, and people were watching and people were watching. But as the world is opening back up, we both noticed that not as many people are watching the show, and which is fine. That's we were there to help bring a little levity into your lives because we were all sitting around thinking, "What the fuck is happening?" Because it was such a scary time. So what I said to Julia, and we'll talk about it when I bring her on, is we decided to take a break. We don't know if we're taking off the month of April or more than that. It really depends on our schedules. We're actually busy. We're not really busy, like really, really busy, but compared to quarantine, we're really busy. Like it's I've been it's been like the old days, in the before times where it's been constant. And so we're going to take some time off. We're going to try to figure out the next steps of the special. If you do like this special, you can find it. If you want to watch some of the old episodes, you can find that on my YouTube, which is, I think, Carol Montgomery, because I don't really know, because there's just too many of these now. Have you noticed this, people? That's the thing that's driving me crazy, is at least 5 people have sent me an invitation for Clubhouse. If you don't know what Clubhouse is, neither do I. All I know is that it's the hot new thing and comedians should go on it. And I was like, I am not doing another. I didn't join TikTok. I didn't join, well, I don't know what the hell there is. There's just too many. I was actually thinking of having my husband join TikTok just because he dances so badly. He would probably become a viral sensation. So, yeah. So we have a lot to talk about. I'm going to bring Julia on. I'm very happy. She has been my partner in crime in this little endeavor, and we hope that we brought you laughs. So let me bring on my pal Julia Scotti. Julia. I don't think Julia's taking the fact. I don't think she's taking. You okay, kid? You have a fur ball?
I'm okay now.
Oh, okay. Oh, you got tissue on your mouth now because
I do okay.
Yeah,
Is
you're
it
good.
gone now?
Yeah, it's good.
It's not how I want to be remembered.
We're gonna be back, Julia. We just, we're both busy. You're off.
I know.
You're flying to Utah to do a fabulous dry bar special,
I know.
and
Look,
you're doing
yeah.
road work, and I'm actually getting more road work, which is like so weird. So I just really, we've talked about this when we actually Julia surprised me, and she was in the city yesterday, and she called me. Let me just say this about Julia: 9:15 in the morning. I see the phone call because I'm awake, and I pick up the phone. She's like, "Hello." I'm like, "Okay, you need to fucking tamp this down." She was so perky. And basically she was coming to the city to do some stuff, and so we went and had breakfast, and we talked about it. I think this is a great show. I really do. I love our interaction, and I love the guests that we have, but I don't know what the next step is, honestly. And as somebody who does a billion things, as you know, Julia, I just thought let's just take some time off, maybe to see if anybody of our fans or people who've been watching have ideas to move it to the next step. So what
Well,
do you think about
I'm
this,
going
Miss?
to a farm in upstate New York where a nice family has adopted me, and I can run with the other comedians all day.
I
And
love
just
you can run with the other
I
comedians.
can
Just
run with you.
don't give them your ball, because you know what'll happen. They'll take that ball. That'll be the end of it.
They can find my ball. They're in great shape. No, it's it was fun. Had a great time. Always working with you was always a good fun. But you're right. It's time. People are gonna go out now.
Right.
They're outside, and we're gonna go out. You know, and I am going on the road. I'm getting busy again. Thank God.
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like that. Like yesterday. Yesterday was the type of day, starting with you, which was great. That I literally went from one thing to one thing to one thing to one thing. Calls, projects. So all of a sudden, not that this isn't fun, and it is. I have so much fun doing this, but and I want to bring it to the next level. We've talked about that. Like, what do
Hmm.
we do to bring? Like, I was a fan of the show and a good friend of ours, the comedian John Pavaromo, who does all this stuff. He goes, "Well, you need to do this if you want to, rip the audio and do this." And I'm like, "You're 12. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? You
seriously.
know what you're
Yeah, I
doing."
know. He's a.
He knows his shit, but that's just okay. So more work. I literally have one, 2, and I'm including now the play that we just your play, at least 4 projects on the burner right now. So
Well,
how
that's
am I?
what I want to devote more time to. I need to devote more time to writing because I'm going to be doing another album this year, and that's getting that material in order. Plus, I do want to get we talked about this yesterday. I want to get the play produced in New York,
Right,
hopefully this year sometime. If not early next year, that would be great.
right,
So.
and it's always been my dream at some point. I think to possibly get. I think this is a great idea for an afternoon talk show. Like because remember the Merv Griffin show and the Mike Dillon show; those were daytime shows, and the only show that's doing daytime right now that's a hit is Ellen, and we know how well that's going.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? She's so who knows?
Well,
Maybe
when I was a youngster, I used to come home from school, and in the afternoon, I'd watch before American Bandstand. I'd watch Liberace.
what? Oh, that's right. He had a show.
I was screwed up even then. Boy, that should have been a clue right
That
there.
should have been a big clue.
Something
Wow.
was. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah.
Liberace, he'd be on for like 15 minutes, I think, or half an hour or something like that.
Oh, and then Soupy Sales had a show.
This is before Soupy Sales.
Wow.
This was yeah, it would be in
In the Roaring
uh,
20s.
Roaring Twenties with Dorothy Provine. I
No, no,
remember.
no.
Oh, there was a show called The Roaring Twenties with Dorothy Provine. Uh,
Yeah.
but I thought that's what you were referencing, but
No, I was
no.
saying that you were
Yeah, I
never
know. I
mind.
find it
Never
occurs
mind.
to me. You
Never
made
mind.
a TV reference, and I got Nancy Parker would know that reference.
Right. Yes, she would. Yeah,
Dorothy
and she'll be
Provine.
on
She
in
probably
just a few,
does an impression of Dorothy Provine too.
probably. She'll be on in a few minutes. A great comic, and one of us, like us, veterans in the business, has been around since the beginning of it all.
She was an inspiration to me when I first started doing stand up.
Oh, wow.
She was she was the hot comic.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. I know, and we will chat with her about that.
Uh-huh.
But just getting back to the show and everything. So the people who are watching, if you have thoughts or you have comments, either find us on our social media, leave a note here at the
Yeah.
comments.
If you have thoughts though about putting Carol and I in a pit in the basement of your house and making a skin suit out of us, please keep those to yourself.
Well, wait a minute. Does it pay well?
Does she... I don't know. Is there a meal?
Is there a meal? Is there? I just got offered a gig, and that's now become part of It's no longer just the pay and the hotel. It's pay, hotel, and dinner. So
And dinner, yeah. I just got. You'd say that because I got offered one this afternoon from a good friend, and we're negotiating right now for. But
right.
yeah,
right.
Going on the road. I'm going with Anita Wise. We're going to Richmond too.
I know. I saw that. That's going to be some show. God,
it's gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah,
that's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
What a great show that's going to be. All right. Well, listen, but let's bring Nancy on instead of just talking about her as if she's passed. Nancy Parker is seriously. I mean, is one of the best comics around. Her impressions and she's we'd have to ask her this. I don't even know because I always consider her a comedian. I don't know if she's a great impressionist, but I don't think that's like
she's a great writer too. She's also a
so,
terrific writer.
And of course she knows this because I tell her every time. Her Gracie Allen is.
If you didn't fall in love with her after hearing that, you just
yeah, exactly. All right, so everybody, let's welcome Nancy Parker. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy Parker.
Oh, hi, ladies. How are you? It's good to see you. You look good. The youngers are sitting there going, "What's that?" Oh, you mean Alan Grace?
I don't care. When you did the live show, I said to her, she said, nobody's going to know what it is. I don't care. I want it. It's my favorite.
It's a fun voice to do, too. It's a real cartoon voice.
It's the best voice. It really is so good. And spot on.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Did Gracie really talk that way, or was that a put-on voice?
No, I think she really talked that way because I saw her in interviews and she brought it down a little. It wasn't quite like it was a little, George, it's kind of a little deeper tender, but it was still there. Whereas on the show, it was Harry Von Zell. But when she was being interviewed, we met and then we fucked and then we got an apartment. But Bea Benaderet, hi.
Bea Benaderet.
She did drop the voice a little bit, but it was always that. Bea Benaderet, who was then Petticoat Junction. I'm just going there because what the hell.
Also, Betty Rubble was Bea Benaderet, wasn't she? The original Betty Rubble was Bea Benaderet, or was it? Or she was one of those Flintstones.
Well, it could have been, but
maybe she was Fred. I don't know.
No, she wasn't.
You
Fred.
never know.
No, she wasn't. So how are you doing? How because I know that you had taken some time off from stand up, Nancy. So
yes,
and then you started getting back into it.
Getting back into it, I have a day job that I work, but I started getting back into the writing part of it. I wrote a couple of plays myself and short plays. I took a playwriting course and I had some readings of a play that I wrote based on my father, which was called Stinker. So that just tells you that. And I did it at the Abingdon Theater. So then actually, Carol, it was really you that came around and really got me back into it. I hadn't really
it's
done
my
anything.
fault.
That's right. It's all you.
It's all your fault,
really,
I had
done cabaret. I started in cabaret before I did. I always tell people I had 45 minutes before I had 10 because cabaret, you could do entire pieces and shows. And, it wasn't like getting up doing a tight 6 to 10. So I started.
Explain to the audience the difference between.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, guys. Cabaret is like it's a club, but it's more of pieces. It's like almost theater pieces. It's comedy, but it's longer chunks. So I could do 45 to an hour, maybe do 4 things in there, all characters, all stories of pieces. Whereas obviously in a stand-up club, any of the clubs, it's kind of like, you got to if you do an hour, there's a lot of material. There's 3 10-minute hunks, whatever it is. So I started doing that. And that's where a lot of the Wizard of Oz was the first thing I ever did. And I did the whole movie.
This morning, I mean, I was in the
I used
shower
to
going,
do when
she's
Reno
like, I think
Sweeney's
I
was
miss you
open.
most of all.
I always like when she says, "You've always had the power to go home to Kansas," and she's like, "Are you serious? Really? What the fuck? I killed a woman, okay? I killed a woman." You know, so, but that was like my claim to fame. I did that. I used to
I
do
killed
Reno
a woman.
Sweeney's. This was a cabaret back in the 70s, a very nice dinner club cabaret downtown in the village. I used to do Monday night movie night. I would do either the Wizard of Oz, the entire movie, or I do Caged, which was a big campy movie, my ladies' prison film of the 50s, or I do Dark Victory with Betty Davis. And I would do the entire film. I'd open for like Sybil Shepherd or Diane Keaton, who sang,
Wow.
and
Wow.
they're not chanteuses, if you
Wow.
know what I mean. But anyway, so I'm dating myself, but somebody has to,
You know,
and
but it yes, it's for a certain crowd, but I'm telling you that for the Wizard of Oz is a timeless movie. So even though you might think, to me, you could do that on the Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show, and he would probably his head would explode
Yeah.
because it's that good.
But Caged.
wait,
wasn't
and you
that
know what?
Go ahead.
I always prided myself. No, I'm sorry, Hen, because I always did material with it. I always wrote stuff.
Right.
When I was at doing a show, the cast, this is like 76, 77, the cast from The Wiz came down. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was more like 72, 73, whenever they were on Broadway. And Andre DeShields and the cast would come see me because I had a part in The Wizard of Oz. When she lands and it's Technicolor, Dorothy comes out and says, "Oh, Toto, everything's colored now." And they laughed. They would come in just to see that line. So I always kind of can tweak it to whatever's going on. I could probably do the Wizard of Oz in the pandemic and do something with COVID, which could be very funny. So I could keep
Right.
it timely and always write for it. You know what I mean? So that's why I always kind of didn't want to just be an impressionist, and I always wanted to have material and
So
stuff
what year
behind it.
did you actually start? What year?
I graduated high school. I was 19 in 1971, and I started actually my comedy career at the Improv. I was on audition night at the same time with Overton and Sullivan,
Oh yeah.
Rick Overton, and they were doing, and Bud Freeman passed us at the same time.
Wow.
So yeah, and I was thrilled. That was my big deal. And after that, whoever ran the Improv after that didn't care for me, so that was that. But Bud was a big fan.
I can appreciate that. Because I had similar.
We all have
experience.
stories that we don't want to discuss publicly, but we all know the person
no, I won't.
who didn't like the woman who was a woman who didn't want women in the show. She didn't,
I know.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Was Ida Lupino engaged? Was that Ida Lupino?
No, it was Eleanor Parker.
Eleanor Parker. That's right. Yes, it was Eleanor Parker.
Why do I know? I don't know current events. I don't know,
but
I know my 40s and 30s.
You know what would be? I was just thinking about with the Wizard of Oz. You know, would be, but would be great if you did the Wizard of Oz, but like as the Kardashians or something like that. You know what I mean?
That would actually be very funny.
Or rap stars. But
yeah. There's politicians, the Trumps.
Right. Oh God. Oh my God. That would be hysterical.
But in getting back to it, Carol, you were the one that actually, when you said, "Would you like to do?" I was like thrilled. I got to dust off some stuff, and it helped me write some other stuff that I had been thinking about, and so you really actually brought me back to stand up. In a way, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I appreciate.
And then, of course, we were all chugging along, and then the pandemic hit. And did you? I'm curious because with your day gig, did you go in, or were you doing all your stuff remotely? Were you working from home?
Actually, I work for nonprofit, so I was doing a lot of the stuff at home. I could come in, maybe in the beginning, stayed at home, and then came in like 2 days a week and do that same schedule. It's pretty good. And then what I found about a year ago in April, I started writing little posts every day, and that really helped. You know what I mean? Writing the little posts, little jokes, one-liners or whatever. So
you're very
that
prolific.
helped me.
You're very prolific.
And thank you. You as well. You guys as well. But it helped me because I've never been that political in my life as to what I'm seeing and hearing and putting in like little one-liners or whatever. So that's, I mean, not that I'm going to go into a stand-up club and, start reading them, but it's helped me to spawn off some little bits already. And,
it actually helped me too when I came back to being able to write that, that 140 characters, which Twitter was at the time, but just to write a joke and condense it into that shorter period of time was a really good writing practice for especially coming back.
It really, because I'm my son always, the way my son describes me, because Mom, you don't really write, you just make faces, like, but I forced myself from social media, the same thing that you guys are saying, having to write for, let's say, Twitter, which is different than writing for Facebook. It really does make you, like, every day you wake up and you go, oh, what can I do? Let me just throw some stupid shit out. And as far as being political, like I say this all the time, you would never know this from the way the last 4 years is, but I'm really a moderate. I'm actually but the last 4 years forced me to go even more left, because I like to see the good in everybody. So when people go, oh, you're just such a liberal lefty, I said, well, not really. I'm really quite in the middle. This motherfucker just made me go, free things for everybody, except guns, but free things for everybody. It's so it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And people, as far as politics are concerned, Julia and I were talking, I think we talked about this yesterday, when I had somebody, a family member, I had written something on Facebook about, the he who shall not be named. And he literally wrote, stick to your comedy, Carole. And I was like, block you, that's it. Why as comics are we not allowed to have an opinion? We're supposed to just be the dancing monkey? I don't get that.
And I think some of the opinions that the comedians have, most of the ones that I've read, are very prolific, are very, tinged with that humor, but come across like, whoa, there's stuff I read and I like, and it's just like, wow, I know it's very good when I say, gee, I wish I thought of that. You know what I mean? But comics are very prolific. We're very, it's amazing because it's really brought out, I think, that side of us. And because the passion, the crap we had to deal with in the last 4 years, plus this last year, I think it's really pushed people to their limit and creative limit. I think it's been such a good thing.
I think, in that respect. These days, there was a time when you could, jibe at somebody on both sides of the political fence, and it was fun. It was all good fun. It was but we've become so polarized where you have to take a side now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Comics don't want to do that. Comics don't want to take any side. Like if this were the Civil War, we'd be standing on the Mason-Dixie line going, but you guys in the gray, you guys in the, we just would be entertaining the troops. It didn't really matter who.
Right.
Yeah.
How about that, Lincoln?
By the way, Susan Jeremy wrote my 3 fave funny ladies. Hi, Susan.
Susan
I love Susan. Number 4, honey. She's
videos.
the best. She's the best.
She's great. I love her.
But have you had comics come onto your things and reply? Not comics, but I mean, like regular folk, just like being so surprised and come back with nasty retorts to what you've said. I mean, we had to block them, or we got really, and you say it's a joke. For
I've had
God's sake.
relatives do that on Facebook. Relatives.
Yeah.
One of the things,
it's like,
when I was raising my son, I always said you can say anything as long as it's funny. It can't be hurtful. It can't be racist. It can't be homophobic. It has to be funny. So right now, I think I mentioned this a couple of shows before. There's a whole group of people that are trying to censor comics, in social media, that are part of the comedy community, because they're not like, I believe that, like, I have a good friend of mine who's a Republican, and I think he left the party, but he's on the right. He's still a funny comic. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we have to, if they're going to make jokes about Biden, if we're going to make jokes about El Duce, we have to be able to take it when they make jokes about Biden, when they're funny, because, the obvious jokes with especially with our vice president is to go the racist anti-female way. But it's really hard to watch. We're the town criers. we're the ones that are pulling the curtain back and go, wait a minute, Emperor's not wearing any clothes. And to hear people who are comedians say, you shouldn't say that. Well, I mean, to me, Carlin and Pryor were my idols, and they would be canceled so fast right now.
Oh, loved it. Yeah. Oh, forget it. They would.
Yeah.
Carlin would have been canceled before he ever got the 7 words out. He would have been canceled way before.
You think so?
He would have. And Pryor, forget it.
I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's true. I think what happens is that now, comics get divided into whatever niche category they fall into, because the media is no longer serving the entire population. It's serving a niche group, and that's who your audience becomes. And I'm not sure I'd like that. I don't know that I can do anything about it. But I mean, like Nancy is one of these comics that everybody loves. You said it at the beginning. Right. You can't not love Nancy Parker. Right. That's her person.
Can't hear you. I've lost you.
And I
can't.
Did you mute yourself?
No, I got a phone call. I put do not disturb on my phone.
I know that's
a lot of good at it. I was making such a brilliant point.
Well, but the thing is that
yes, I was loving it.
But the thing is that
but you're right about.
Go ahead, Nance.
No, I was going to say you're right about the niche, though. I mean, because it just is like, when I just use Facebook because that's really all I'm doing right now. I actually have two gigs coming up, which I'm excited about. And but I mean, I've been on Facebook really looking at other things, and there seems to be like a little group kind of folks like ourselves, all of us doing things on Facebook, whatever, and then other comics, and then the people that are posting things up that are unfortunately anti-comedy or I don't know if it's anti-politics or whatever the hell it is, are so negative that it's like, I don't want to disfriend anybody or unblock or block rather, but I'm going to. I'm going to block or I'll unfriend you if you're just going to get your own post, put up what you want. I don't, you know what I mean? Right. And I don't mind a discussion, but when it's just like, you're ignorant, you're this, you're that, you shouldn't say, I'm like, okay, come on.
But to not just be able to take it as a joke, it's just a joke.
Exactly.
It's
a joke.
Stop, lighten up, stop being so serious about everything,
Well, I think though, I didn't want to interrupt you, Julia.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I think, I really do think this year, because we were all locked up, that we became, like, for lack of a better word, and not trying to rip off Seinfeld, masters of our own domain. Like we have our little bubble, and this is what we like. And if you don't, if I don't agree with you, well, then I'm just going to write terrible things about you because I'm in my little bubble. What's so sad about what's happening right now with all the shootings, that has to do with the lockup too. Do you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden it's like, hey, we've been locked up. There were no shootings for a year. As soon as we had a chance to go back outside, everybody's fucking shooting everybody. So it's like, it's weird. Like, yeah.
The shooter was, he shot 10 people, but he was wearing a mask. So, it's like, okay, then that's okay.
Yeah, that'll get you.
That's a great joke.
Yeah, it's a great joke, but
people will be like, "Oh my God, you're making fun."
Not funny, Nancy.
Yeah, it's like AR-15 in aisle 3, AR-15 in aisle 3.
I know, but like, if you can't laugh at tragedy, okay, then like some people know this, some people don't. It's a long story. My husband's brother was murdered with an AK-47. So I always say to people, oh no, it was thank you, but it was, my son was a baby. He was 2. He's 29 now. It was a long time ago. And and so 2 things. When somebody starts giving me grief, or when I say civilians shouldn't have automatic weapons, that's for the military, and they go, oh, you're just one of those liberals. Like, well, actually, and then I tell them the story. But the reason I brought that up is my mother-in-law, who just lost her son, when they were going to get the coffin, my brother-in-law was a big man, like 6'5" and like 400 pounds. He didn't fit in the coffin. So my mother-in-law says to the funeral director, "Can't you just stuff him in?" And we all just started laughing because it was, it was such a bizarre moment. But can you just why don't you
Mhm.
just stuff him in? Can you bend him? Can you? And we were dying, and it broke the sadness by
Yes. Yes.
I talk about Chris Titus's has a great one man show called Norman Rockwell is Bleeding, and he talks about his mother committing suicide, and it's this moment where it's so quiet, and then he does a joke, and the burst of laughter is you can feel everybody go, "Oh, thank God we're not talking about that anymore." So you
Yes.
have to
Yes.
be able to do that. I think what the point I'm trying to say to everybody is get a fucking sense of humor.
Well, you have
Exactly.
to,
Exactly.
and well, both of you can do this. You have to have a certain skill set to be able to walk that line, like
Right.
with Chris Titus. That
Mhm.
you can't put that in the hands of a newbie,
No.
because it's gonna Hindenburg all over the stage.
Right.
It's just gonna
Well, that's I like that one.
what.
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
gonna Hindenburg all over the stage.
Hindenburg. I like that. Hindenburg is a
Yes.
verb.
Right.
I like. Yeah, and it's for stuff we don't understand. I mean, we laugh about stuff we're trying to understand. We laugh about stuff we understand. This kind of violence or any kind of grief as a nation or individual personal grief, we don't understand it. We're dealing with it. So humor is the one thing we know. We all know it.
Right.
So I mean, it's a gift, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. Really, I
Right.
mean, so I'm not saying we're these great prophets or whatever, but we do have something to offer to people that
Mhm.
most, I think, people get it. I really do. They do get it when we say something in light of a tragedy, in light of a person or whatever.
Right.
They
I
get
have a
it that we're
question
not
though. Could
fun.
1977 Nancy Parker have survived in 2021? That character, the comic you were back then, could she have,
Oh,
if she came onto the
um,
scene today, would she be able to survive or
uh,
achieve what she achieved?
I think probably if I go up it a couple of years, probably 82, 83, 84, she could have survived. 77, I don't know. I was still new. I mean, I had some kind of success. I went out to California, and I was there opening night at the comic strip. Richie Tinkin had kind of moved me over to get over there. So, I opened Caroline's when Caroline's was on Broadway in 28th. It was a cabaret.
I
I was
remember
there
that.
Yep.
Sure,
Yep.
I
first
remember
2 weeks.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of heat on me then, and Letterman,
Yep.
whatever. But once Letterman's people said no, it was a different, he at that time, it wasn't his cup of tea. Everything, I had a Showtime special lined up, everything fell, fell,
Really?
fell. And after
Wow.
that, I was never invited back to Caroline's. And I get it because I wasn't that hot anymore. He kind of it sizzled, and it was just circumstance. It was circumstance, and it was unfortunate. But I wanted to do a one-woman show on my resume of almost gots. I was going to call it the almost gots. The things I went up for got real close, but never got.
That's a great
There was
idea.
I know. I think I made you. Do you remember a show Sledgehammer with David Reshe?
Mm,
It was like the '80s. It was like a.
mm,
It was like a. What is that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, it was like Naked Gun type silly Mel
Yeah.
Brooks.
right.
Anyway, they wanted me to do. I did one episode as Betty Davis as Baby Jane Hudson, asking him for the rent, the star. So Dick Martin directed. He came back, said, "You're great. I want you on once a month, asking him for the rent." I had Kabuki make up the Baby Jane, everything.
Could you give us
Where's
a
the rent?
sample?
Where's
Give us
the
a.
rent? There it is. Is this it? A check? Really? I always said Betty Davis is the only one that could curse like this. Shut the fuck up. But so my manager calls me. She says, "I got good news and bad news." I said, "What's the good news?" She said, "You got Sledgehammer. You're on once a month." I said, "What's the bad news?" They just canceled it. That's the true story. So,
I gotta tell you,
it
I
was
will
like
tell you a
that was
story.
like the story of my life. So
Do you remember Hal Ennis? Do you remember Hal Ennis?
No.
Comedy Caravan in New
oh
Jersey. Hal Ennis. He did a first
yeah,
comedy show in Jersey
remember
at
the
a
name? I
Chinese
do
restaurant.
remember the name.
He brought you in,
Oh,
and I think that may have been the
I
first time
believe
I
I do.
saw
I
you.
just
Yeah, she froze. All right, there
Yes.
she
Oh,
is.
there
Really?
you are.
God, that's going back. Crap.
It was 1980 because that's the very
But
first place I was at, and he brought you in. He talked about you even before you came in, and I just sat in the back of the room and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm quitting the business right now because she's just
oh,
brilliant, brilliant."
Yeah, but Nancy, I'm curious because so what you said, and you kind of not you passed it over. So what I'm trying to understand is, so I guess you were up for you auditioned for Letterman, right? And then everything. How did that?
Barry Sands at the time producer that liked me, and then yeah, I auditioned for him. He was the director, I guess. Rather, I don't
I
know.
remember him. Yeah, I remember
And
his
he liked
name.
me a
Yeah.
lot. But yeah, he was the first guy. Whoever this was early on when Letterman started the show, and Dave just wasn't. I wasn't his cup of tea. Just to be honest,
No, I
I
understand that,
didn't
but what I don't
grab him. He
understand,
never was.
I don't
Yeah.
understand how that, like, did word get out that David Letterman didn't like you, and then everything else just fell by the wayside?
Well, no, but I think that was based on that. In other words, that was kind of the hook to get people in, to get Showtime people in, was like the
Oh,
fact,
okay.
oh, she's probably going to do Letterman to get the. So when Letterman didn't happen, there was
Right.
that little bit of heat off.
Okay.
So people
Yeah.
said, well, why should, if you know what I mean? If I
Yeah.
had that to jump off on, the Showtime special would have had other things would have. So unfortunately, that's what happened. But that's why I say years after that, probably the mid 80s or that's the person, because I became a writer. I wrote for American Comedy Network for radio for a while.
Right.
And then I became more of a writer / performer, and I more of a self awareness, as confidence. I didn't have any managers at the time. I was more on my own.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I would say that's the one that would survive today.
Yeah.
You know?
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for you in a million different venues, but film and TV mostly. I mean, you've got that kind of Carol Kane personality, kind of just kind of, you just want to just, and you're so talented and so damn funny. That there's a place for you in some sitcom somewhere.
But
And
but the thing about and what I was talking about at the beginning of the show was television, like regular TV now, is terrible. I mean,
yes,
that's all. I mean,
I
everyone.
agree.
Todd and I have been watching Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore and Cheers and
Yeah.
Taxi, and we're watching these shows, and there's nothing like that
no,
on TV right now. I mean, the only show that the
No,
only
there
two
really
shows.
isn't.
Right. The only shows I watch right now, like that are considered sitcoms, are cartoons. I watch The Simpsons and I watch Bob's Burgers because I think the writing is, though both of those shows are based on classic sitcoms. So what we're trying to say here is look at the three of us right now. You've got the Golden Girls right here. So somebody write that.
There it
Yeah.
is.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there should be there's
Yeah, you're
no
right.
great
You're right.
TV shows right now. It's so sad as a sitcom baby, and I
Hey
love
kids, why don't we write it?
yeah, because I have nothing else I have to fucking
Here
do.
we go. We can do it.
We can. We'll use my dad's barn.
It's like I just said at the beginning of the show, we're ending the
We'll
show
put it
for
on
a
the
while because
The barn. We'll get the theater.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
all right, you guys do that, and no,
No,
I'm
but
not.
you're right. The regular.
What TV shows are you watching, Nance? Are you watching anything on streaming?
I do watch.
Okay,
I watch
She's freezing.
Shameless. I do get.
Oh yeah.
I've watched it. That's on Showtime.
well,
Nothing really on network. But I watched that on Showtime. It's so irreverent, but it's very funny, and it's gotten funnier in the last.
Yeah.
This is the last
Yes, it has.
season of it, and it seems to progressively got funnier as it went along. The writing, I watched it the other day. Bill Macy is hysterical, but the writing is really funny.
Yeah. And the acting.
Yeah.
The acting is
It's
great.
really irreverent and kind of gross at times, but it is funny.
yeah, and this is their last.
That's
season.
a case where you can be as. Yes, I think they have like 2 or 3 shows left,
Mhm.
but that to me is where you can be as gross and vulgar, but you're funny. And that
Yeah.
has that's why it's shameless. I mean, they talk about, but they're funny. I mean, I shake my head and I go, oh my God, but I watch that and I'm trying to think if I watch the old ones when they're on, like you. If I find All in the Family, you think of that. If that was today, oh God,
God.
it would be, forget it.
Have
They
you
couldn't
seen
even water it
Brockmire?
down enough. I really,
Yeah.
Have you seen
Brockmire?
Brockmire? Brockmire.
No. What's
The
that
guy,
on?
it was on, I think
IFC.
I think on
Oh,
IFC.
IFC. Oh, I should check it
Hysterical.
out.
Okay.
Is it good?
Hysterical.
Oh,
Brock.
Yeah. It's the
Brockmire.
guy
I
who
gotta watch it.
played the housekeeper in Birdcage. God, what's his name?
Oh, Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria.
Hank
Oh,
Azaria.
As
okay.
a
Yeah.
as a
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love
as
him.
a
Yeah.
oh my God, he's just brilliantly funny in this show.
Oh, I've seen now that you mentioned, I've seen the trailer for it. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen
watch
it
it.
yet.
Definitely
But yeah,
watch it.
I'm trying to think if I watch anything else. No, that's like the most
Yeah.
recent comedy show I watch, sitcom.
But
The others
but
I just,
I was going to say, when you mentioned All in the Family, last night we were watching the episode with Dick Van Dyke when he thinks that the baby was switched.
Yes.
oh,
Okay.
yes.
And then and it was so great because he's so sure of it, and he speaks because they're the Petries and these are the Peters, and he says to the guy on the phone, he goes, I really think we have the wrong babies. And you know what I love about that shot? Because I remember that show from when I was a child, and when I saw it was coming up in the queue, I says, "Oh, this is going to be great." That he opens up the door, and nobody in the audience, you just see Rob's face.
Yeah. I was watching an interview with Bill
Yes.
Persky, who wrote that, and Persky said the laugh when Greg Morris walked in was so long that they had to cut it from the final episode, the one that aired.
Oh, that's
after
so
like
great.
15
That's so-
seconds. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure
That's so
because
great.
because that's what I said to Todd. I said, listen for the laughter, because you could just the look on Rob's face, and then Craig Morris walks through the door.
Right.
Was so great. But like, I'm sure somebody would find that episode. How could you possibly do that? And it was a harmless.
It was groundbreaking for
it
the
was
time.
very groundbreaking.
If you think about it now, yeah. And all they did that was the last, I mean, you drew your conclusions, obviously, and it was there. But I mean, now we could take it apart, redo it, and maybe have the part 2 of it or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that's a great show. It's a great
Yeah.
show.
And then the same thing with All in the Family when Sammy Davis kisses Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. The best.
That's those are the things that I'm starting to really sound like a curmudgeon. In the old days, those things were funny, but like those type of things, those were moments in television history. I don't see that
because it was
No,
a
I don't either.
confrontation of truth. It was finally you're taking the light and shining it on this horrible thing that existed in this country at the time and still does. Really.
Yes, and you're showing, we're laughing at him and his ignorance, but and then Edith, who is like this dingbat, is the wisest person who says these gems. Oh, Archie, oh yeah, well, Gloria.
I was so glad. I'm so happy you did that. Thank you.
Oh, sure. She's one of my favorites to do. Actually, I could do that with All in the Family. Make them more of a, with the pandemic. Can you imagine? And wearing no mask, no mask. Oh, Archie, you have to wear a mask. You have to wear.
Oh God!
All right, so listen, guys, we are almost at our end of our road here.
Geez, this was fun. This was great.
This is so much fun, Julia. We will be back. I promise.
Well, I love being part of this. This was great, and an honor to be on the last one of the season. I'm glad. I'm sorry to see it go, but I know you guys will be back.
No, we will. Like I said, I really have to.
It's a great format.
Thank you. The problem is, as Julia and too, I take on a lot of stuff, which is great. I mean, it was me and my little bag of I'm going to get women of a certain age out, and I did it. But the amount. What's funny about that, and I think Julia knows this story. I don't know if you know it. Is like so many people like, how did she get that? Because you know how comics are. Everyone's how did she get that? I said I was up at 8 o'clock every fucking morning working on it. Literally every morning, figuring out, doing and
It
doing
didn't
and
just
doing.
rain on you or fall out of the
Right,
sky.
right, exactly. That's
Yeah.
that Showtime just went, hey, we heard about you. Here's a show. So
Yeah.
this at the time, because it was the pandemic, we didn't know what was going to happen. This was a
Right,
great way.
right.
It was very cathartic for me because I was, and Julia too, we were just so blown away that our lives were stopped. We didn't have anything to do. So this made me take a shower every week. So for that, I'm thankful.
It made me take a shower with Carole every week. I would just
Well,
show up
there
at her
you go.
apartment. Yeah.
It was great. She was
Well, I
wearing a
haven't
mask.
showered for a while, so I'm just saying. Thank God you don't have smell-o-vision. Because
So Nancy, do you have anything you want to plug before we leave?
yes,
Oh, you froze up.
actually, I have
Oh, you froze.
June 3rd. I'll be at the Broadway Comedy Club. One of these comics of legend, Joe Salabi's producing it over at Broadway Comedy Club. Myself, Mike Stocelli. I forget there's a few others, and I'm leaving out names. I know Maurice Sill, and that's
Great.
June 3rd at the Broadway
Fabulous.
Comedy Club. Comedy legends.
By the
whatever.
way,
So, I'm glad to be a legend, to be a living legend.
Living legend.
Joe
Salabi
Salabi.
did one of those at the old
Yeah.
side of the Improv. Remember on 44th and 9th? I passed it
Yeah.
yesterday. It's now a friggin' Chipotle. I had to pull the car over. I was weeping. I was just.
Oh, you didn't know that? You didn't.
I
know
didn't know it became a
yeah,
Chipotle. No.
Yeah. And Julia, what do you have to plug?
I'm going. I'm on the road a bit, so I'm going to. Like I said, I'm going out to Utah next week, and we've got some. You can go to juliescotti.com, and my schedule's always up there. And I've got this thing. If you want to watch it, Hello Boys, we're listening to it. It's on, available wherever you can download comedy.
Yeah, and it's
Love
not
it,
watching
love it.
unless you're
No, it's
listening
audio.
to it, you can visualize.
If you hold it up against
And what do you
your
have,
ear,
Carole?
Oh, well,
Carole,
I'm
what do
very
you have going
excited.
on?
I'm going Stand Up New York. We're having our first live indoor show.
Mm,
So Friday night at
nice.
Stand Up New York, I'm on the 9 o'clock show. I'm so thrilled.
Is Riccadonna doing that?
I don't know if Riccadonna's doing it. It's a great lineup. And they gave me the sweet spot, which is great. Show's at 9. I go on at 9:30. I'll be back in bed at 9:45. We have a couple of funny women shows coming up. We're going to be up in Greenwich, Connecticut. I think it's the St. Lawrence Society. You have to look it up on Facebook. And then we go back to the Crane on the 28th.
Nice.
Also live shows. We're having a limited audience.
Oh, great.
And
great.
here's the great thing about all these limited audiences for all of us as comics. We can finally say we're selling out and mean it because it's only 2 people.
Exactly.
We should sing before we go from
Limited.
that. We should sing
Love
that song from Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Four of You. Like, something exciting. Something exciting. Comedy.
Do we know?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows what we're saying.
All right,
Okay,
ladies.
tonight. Comedy tonight. All right. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thanks, everybody.
Ladies.
And then everybody, thank you so much for supporting the show.
Hi, ladies.
If you have any if you have any ideas, please reach out to Julia and I about how we need to bring this back. We will take the month of April off. We may be back in May. We may be back in June. Who knows what's going to happen? Ladies, when we sign off, I'm going to have to run. So I love you both. Keep doing comedy. Keep the
Love
faith.
you too, guys. Thank you.
Wear
Yes,
a mask,
you got it,
everybody. Get vaccinated. We love you.
Yes.
Bye.
Don't forget.
Bye.
You got to wear it
Bye.
off your mask. Bye. Bye, honey. Take care.